Dr. Yossi Gutman is a cardiologist and works at a hospital. He is dedicated to his work and does not have much of a life outside it. He has some emotional baggage that weighs him down, but he keeps everything to himself. He even sleeps at the hospital dorm most of the time. Nina, a technician who works there, is interested in him and tries to go out with him. She invites him to go with her for a play on Saturday. He tries to evade but agrees as she insists. Their colleague Dr. Modi Hoffman walks in, overhearing them. He hears Nina talking about them getting a coffee later. Modi mocks them to get a room. Yossi tries to clarify that they were just discussing a play and asks whether Modi would like to join them. He jokes about how he doesn't want to ruin her plans and leaves to attend to work matters. Yossi tells Nina that Modi is a nice man, but just bothersome now because of being tense about his divorce. Nina smiles it off. Yossi finds Modi doing in the staff room. He doesn't confront Modi, but his disapproval is evident on his face. Modi invites Yossi to go for a drink at a bar which his friend is opening. Yossi refuses and Modi cannot understand why he wouldn't. Yossi gets called for a meeting by Prof. Newman. The professor tells him about an upcoming important artificial heart valve transplant surgery. He wants Yossi to attend the surgery as the cardiologist. He also offers him some chocolates which he has bought recently from Belgium. Yossi politely refuses the chocolates as he is trying to lose weight. The professor insists, but he refuses. The professor then also asks him why Yossi has not used his vacation leaves yet. Yossi clarifies that he is focused on work and doesn't need a vacation. The professor tries to convince him to take a vacation for his mental health, especially being a young doctor. Yossi vaguely agrees just to get out of the conversation. Back at home, he masturbates to watching gay porn. He watches two men make out passionately in a desert under the tent. He then eats some takeout noodles and watches TV to go to sleep. He finds a show of camels roaming in the desert. It calms him, and he drifts to sleep. The next day, he spots a familiar woman waiting for her heart test among the patients. He tries to get the morning schedule and realizes the woman would be examined by Dr. Modi. He goes to find Modi. Modi, on the other hand, is trying to get a soda out of the vending machine. Yossi asks Modi to let him do the morning heart examinations as one of the patients is an old family friend of his. Modi is slightly puzzled, but lets him have it. Yossi helps him to kick the machine to get the soda out. The woman's name is Varda Amakai, and she is here for her annual heart checkup as she has a history of heart attack. He does the procedural questioning, and then the test starts. He asks her about family cardiac history, and then casually asks whether she has any children. She says she doesn't have any. The examination goes fine and her heart seems to be okay. After the examination, Varda leaves, thanking him. As he watches her get into the elevator, Dr. Modi is complaining about work, but Yossi's mind is set on something else. Yossi runs to the parking lot and gets in his car. Varda gets out of the hospital and lights a cigarette. Yossi stops the car next to her, and she wonders whether he is following her. He explains that he is leaving after work and would love to drop her. She politely refuses, but he insists. She joins him finally, and they leave the hospital. On the way to her place, Yossi plays some music. He asks whether she likes the music, and she replies that her son used to. Then, Yossi points out that she had denied having any children earlier. Varda clarifies that her son had died in an army conflict in Lebanon. He asks how old Yossi is, and Yossi replies that he will be 34 in 2 months. Varda remarks about how she thinks whether every young man she meets would be younger or elder to her son, had he been alive. She shows Yossi her handsome son's photos. Yossi has a hard time looking at the photo. When they reach her place, Yossi remarks how the area has changed so much. Varda is surprised to know that he knows the place, and Yossi confirms that he had been there many times before. She talks about how the road has been widened and a new park has been built. She thanks for the drive and leaves. He watches her leave and then drives off, waving a bye. Once at home, he looks at a series of photos from his army days. Varda's son was his fellow soldier and boyfriend. Reminiscing about his lost love, he sighs deeply. Later, he checks his messages on a gay dating site. Yariv, a handsome young man, asks for his photo, and Yossi sends one of his old photos in which he is very lean and good-looking. Yariv replies that he looks cute. Yossi goes to Yariv's place for a date. Yariv opens the door showing his rugged figure, only wearing a towel. Yossi arrived too early and Yariv had to open the door, getting out of his shower. Yossi explains that he ended up coming early because he was worried about finding a parking spot. Yariv goes off to finish his shower and returns with a bottle of exquisite shadow wine. Yossi shares that he is not much of a wine connoisseur himself. Yariv follows the etiquettes of drinking wine to experience it in the best way. They are clearly very different in personalities. They talk about work and Yassi says that he is a cardiologist. One of Yarov's uncles is a famous cardiologist and Yarov asks Yassi whether he is good at his job. Yassi is polite and asks what Yarov does for a living. Yarov owns several bars in the city, one of them being the famous bar named The Driver. But Yassi, being not much of a bar goer, hasn't even heard of it. Yarov, being a bit pompous, cannot believe that Yassi doesn't know such a well-known place. Yarov looks at the photo Yassi had shared with him on the dating site. He repeatedly states that Yassi doesn't remotely resemble himself from the photo, even if it is from only 2 years ago. He intimidates Yassi and almost accuses him of having fooled him with the photo. He asks whether Yassi has worked out in ages and Yassi denies this, and expresses that he would leave if Yarov is displeased with him. Yarov just goes on to say about how it was unfair of Yassi to share such a different-looking photograph and Yassi tells him that he is just overreacting. He had only meant to share a decent picture. Yarov doesn't want to talk anymore and asks Yassi to end the night by just going down on him. The next day is the crucial day of the artificial heart valve transplant surgery. But the unpleasant date night still bothers Yassi. He is assigned as the cardiologist to stabilize the patient's heart and Professor Newman is the main surgeon. Dr. Modi is also there observing the surgery. When Yassi begins to stabilize the heart, Dr. Modi notices something unusual and dangerous with the placement of the catheter and asks Yassi to stop. But Yassi cannot spot this and continues his work. Professor intervenes and pushes Yassi aside. They work hard to ensure the patient's safety. Yassi is shocked that he was almost negligent. He sits brooding with guilt inside the restroom. Dr. Modi consoles him as doctors also make mistakes, and in this case, it was not that serious as the patient is safe. Modi is excited that his divorce will be finalized today. He wants to take Yassi out for drinks and a party. But Yassi refuses to go out tonight as he has work and insists on going out the next day. Tired of Yassi's attitude, Modi tells him that he wants them to go for drinks, not just to celebrate the divorce, but for Yassi to have some fun. He even tells him that he has heard rumors about Yassi being gay, but he couldn't care less and just wants him to enjoy life, no matter what his choice of partners are. Yassi assures him that they can go out for drinks the next day. He sleeps at the hospital after his night duty. The next morning, Nina goes to wake him up as usual. She tries calling his name, but he is fast asleep. She caresses his hair and slowly kisses him. He wakes up shocked and pushes her onto the wall. Her arm hits the wall and is bruised. But what hurts her is how she misunderstood that Yassi would have liked what she did. She apologizes for showing affection and explains that she thought he also wanted it. He makes it clear that he doesn't perceive Nina as a romantic interest at all. She adds that she found him too sad and just wanted to share some love. He tells her that his life is complicated, and it is not that Nina is not interesting or anything. She realizes that he has his issues and apologizes and leaves. Yassi is taken aback, but gets back to work. At night, he goes to a busy bar with Modi. Modi orders whiskey for both of them and asks the bartender to get Yassi drunk. They drink to his divorce and following freedom. Modi casually asks about the state of Yassi's sex life and Yassi tries to evade it. Modi doesn't stop there and goes on to point at the women in the bar and make lewd comments about how it would be to have sex with them. He finds one of the women very hot and attractive and flirts with her. Yassi is uninterested and goes to the restroom. Modi barges into the restroom with the woman. Yassi is shocked and feels awkward. He tries to move away, but it looks like Modi is trying to have a three-way with the woman and him. The woman starts to flirtatiously unbutton Yassi and Modi also pats his body. They make out in front of him, and the woman tries to undress and kiss him. Yassi stands uncomfortable and gets out when Modi tries to feel him down while making out with the woman. Yassi drives home aimlessly, drunk and stressed. When he wakes up the next day, he realizes he has parked himself in front of his late ex-boyfriend Lior's house, the one where his mother, Varda, lives. He goes to her house and is greeted by a surprised Varda. He tells her that he needs to talk about something. She is soon joined by her husband who recognizes him as his deceased son's commander in the army. Varda is shocked to know this, but doesn't express it right away. They invite him for coffee. Varda asks him why he hid this fact from her earlier. His excuse is that he wasn't sure she was Lior's mother. But she probes further about why he didn't reveal it at least when she showed him the photo of Lior. To that, Yassi apologizes. Lior's father intervenes and lets him speak about what he came to talk about. Yassi opens up and says that he came to talk about the relationship he had with Lior. The father recalls Yassi talking about how fine a soldier his son was at the funeral. Yassi explains that they had a relationship beyond just being colleagues in the army. He was even with Lior when he was dying. held his hand, and begged him to not close his eyes. When Lior smiled just like he always did whenever they argued, Yasi bid him farewell with a kiss on lips and uttering that he loved him. Yasi now wonders whether Lior actually heard it and is still grieving the pain of his loss. Lior's parents are shocked to hear about this, as they had no clue that their son was gay. Varda cannot even process it, but then recalls that he had a girlfriend and how he could have been gay if he was seeing girls. Yasi explains that the said girlfriend was just a friend and Lior was indeed gay. Varda asks Yasi why he is doing this to them. Yasi reasons that Lior had wanted them to know him and their relationship, but he perished before he could share it with them. He thinks Lior would have wanted Yasi to do it now and is trying to get some closure. Varda politely requests Yasi to leave as she cannot take it anymore. The father leads him out of the house, but then pauses to ask whether he would like to see Lior's room. Thus, Yasi goes upstairs to Lior's room. He is overwhelmed with grief. He looks at how the room is still kept intact with Lior's belongings, including his guitar, posters, football, and old toys. His collection of music CDs and photos on the bedpost and everything are still there. Yasi then goes out driving to the desert. On the way, he stops at a cafe at a gas station for some refreshment. He spots 4 soldiers at a nearby table, reminding him of his own old army days. Nimrod, one of the young soldiers, makes fun of Pfeffer by suggesting he finally end his virginity with the old janitor who is cleaning the tables. They make fun of each other with lewd remarks and insults. Distracted by the conversation, they miss their bus to the airport. Yasi overhears them talking about how they have to wait for more than 2 hours to get the next bus. He offers to drop them at the airport on his way to the desert. They take up the offer, even if they are not legally permitted to hitchhike. On the way, they talk about where they are heading. When Yasi shares that he is going to the desert, they warn him about the war alerts and danger of going there. But Yasi is determined to go as the deserts are always dangerous, and it wouldn't make a difference to wait. The young men are very energetic and cheerful compared to Yasi, who is aloof and cold. He asks about their army life, and they are impressed that he has good first-hand knowledge about their stations. Pfeffer asks Yasi to play some music as it is getting boring with the noise of his friend, Benda, snoring. He plays some classical instrumental music and Pfeffer wonders whether it is Mozart or something. None of the youngsters except for Tom is familiar or interested in such music. Tom recognizes the musician and is impressed with Yasi's taste in music. They exchange sweet glances for a moment. Pfeffer wants some peppy and cheerful music and Yasi asks him to pick from the stack of CDs. Tom picks another classic, but Nimrod refuses to play it as it is too sleepy for him. Pfeffer mocks Tom's choice as too gay and Tom counters that he would show him what is actually too gay. Pfeffer replies that he is not interested in gay affairs at all. Yasi notices how easily Tom owns his sexuality. Pfeffer finally picks a contemporary fast-paced song, which is a dance number. They sing and groove to it as Yasi drives along with a smile. When they reach the airport, Benda is still fast asleep. Tom jokes whether Yasi wants to take Benda with him to the desert. He thanks Yasi for the ride and bids a pleasant farewell. Nimrod invites him to join them for some partying and fun, but Yasi declines humbly. When Yasi begins to leave, he has a change of mind and decides to return to the airport. There he checks into a hotel room and enjoys the view from the balcony. It has been so long since he has gotten away on a vacation. He sees the soldiers swimming and having fun in the pool below. He goes to the poolside and lies on a lounge chair reading a book. Nimrod spots him and asks him to join in the pool where his friends are flirting with some French girls. But Yasi sticks to his reading. Nimrod mentions that Tom has gone to get his usual massage at the spa and that he can't be gayer. Soon, Tom comes by in his spa robes, holding a drink and talks to Yasi. He jokes how Pfeffer stole the dance song CD and wouldn't return even if Yasi decided to stay back to get it. Yasi tells him that he didn't know about the CD and that he stayed back to relax here rather than go to the desert for now. Tom spots the book that Yasi is reading and mentions it is sad. Yasi wonders whether Tom has read it, but Tom jokes that he has not. But a book titled Demise in Venice can't be anything happy. Tom mentions how good it felt to have had the massage and asks Yasi to get it done too. Yasi expresses his disinterest towards being touched and oiled by strangers. Tom points out that even doctors recommend massage for wellness, and how it has been a tradition for thousands of years. He is amazed to know that Yasi never ever got himself a massage. His friends come at him with water guns, and he joins them. They splash water and have fun as Yasi watches with a smile. At night, Yasi looks at the city lights. He goes for dinner by himself in the restaurant. He spots Tom mingling with the French girls from the pool, and all of them having a lively dinner. He sits by himself watching a musical dance show singing a medley of love songs. The show is not very entertaining for his taste, but he just bears it. Tom joins him, and they laugh at how boring it is. He is surprised to see Yossi laugh. He has come with a special gift, a booking to a massage as a token of gratitude for helping them get there. Yossi tries to refuse, but then takes it. The next day he goes to the pool as usual to read. He sees Nimrod, Pfeffer, and Benda there, and thanks them for the massage gift. Nimrod has no clue about the gift, and Yossi realizes it was all Tom. He asks about Tom, and Nimrod replies that Tom is wasted from yesterday's party and sleeping hungover. So Yossi heads to the spa and waits anxiously wearing the robe. When it is almost his turn for the massage, he gets cold feet and leaves. When Bose, the masseur, comes to call him, Yossi is gone. He goes to the hotel room and takes a nap. He looks outside at Tom taking a swim. He goes down to see Tom talk to Bose, and they both explore each other's tattoos very intimately. The rest of the day, he holes up in the room reading. At night, Tom visits him and asks how the massage went. Yossi shares that he never went for it as he was busy. Tom wonders how Yossi can be so busy that he can't spare even an hour. Nevertheless, he invites Yossi to a party, but Yossi declines and light-heartedly mentions how the youngsters are living on the edge. Tom gets back at him by replying that at least they are not as busy as him. Yossi states that he is going to listen to the restaurant singer tonight, as she would be covering some old classic songs. He wanted to ask them to join him, but he knew it wouldn't be something of their taste. Tom agrees that it is not his friend's choice of music, and they would rather go to the DJ party tonight. Yossi asks Tom whether he would be joining his friends too, and he confirms so. At night, Yossi is immersed in the classical songs and is teary-eyed as the love song reminds him of his long-lost boyfriend. Surprisingly, Tom turns up at the concert and sits next to Yossi. Later, they have some ice cream and talk about Yossi's past in the army. Yossi doesn't want to linger on that topic and doesn't reveal much. He mentions that he always wanted to be a doctor and joined school right afterwards. When Tom probes more, Yossi clarifies that he doesn't want to talk more about it. Tom agrees and instead suggests taking a ride on one of the giant toy giraffes meant for kids. Yossi is amazed and finds it quirky. Tom doesn't care and begins to ride on the giraffe as Yossi walks on the side with an awkward smile. Later, they walk around the streets and Yossi asks whether his colleagues in the army are okay with Tom being openly gay. Tom explains that none cares what you are and just be you. Yossi replies that it was different back in the days, and Tom mocks him for making such statements as if Yossi was not just a few years older, but lived in the ancient ages. Yossi asks what Tom's parents think of his queer side. Tom clarifies that his parents do not know that he is gay. Yossi wonders why that is so. Tom adds that they don't know about his sexuality, just like they do not know his choice of cinema or music. Yossi feels disheartened that Tom's openness with his sexuality has to be discreet among his own family. Tom doesn't agree with this perspective and explains how he has not lied to anyone, and at the same time, not everything needs to be family business either. Yossi tries to understand this. They walk to the beach and Tom suggests that they both jump into the sea. Yossi is stunned about how impulsive he is and remains at the beach as Tom goes fully and jumps into the sea. In no second, Yossi sees Tom screaming, having been stung by a sea urchin. Back at the hotel room, Yossi attends to Tom's wound. He asks Tom to take care of it and gives him the required ointment. Tom tries to joke about whether the wound is terminal and Yossi asks him to not joke about finality. They exchange goodnight and Tom leaves as Yossi doesn't show any more interest as such. When Yossi tries to just watch the TV, he hears a door knock. It is Tom again, and he asks whether it is okay to dance with the injured feet. Yossi explains that he shouldn't strain on it and better dance with one leg. Tom doesn't stop with his doubts. He goes on to ask whether it is okay if they have sex, and Yossi says it is fine, as long as he doesn't do any surprising moves. Tom mentions he always does surprising moves, so Yossi asks him to be patient for some time. Tom then asks whether he can kiss, and Yossi plays along, asking with whom. The flirtatious exchange continues as Tom replies he wants to kiss Yossi, and Yossi asks back why would Tom kiss him and not the hot and rugged masseur Bose. Tom makes it clear that he loves men who are not just handsome, but also intelligent like Yossi. They have a cute moment of intimacy and kiss on the lips. They go to bed where they begin to make out, but Yossi switches the light off. Tom turns it on, but Yossi switches it off again. After a few turns of Tom switching it on and Yossi switching it off, Tom gets up and tells Yossi that he can't do it without actually seeing him for who is. When Yossi refuses to do it under the lights, Tom gets up to leave. Yossi makes up his mind to open up for Tom and asks him to stay. Tom undresses fully and Yasi follows. In the warm glow of lights, they embrace and Yasi feels safe and secure with someone finally. A few days go by, and now they sit at the beach watching the sea waves, sipping on their chilled beers. Tom wonders when Yasi has to return to work at the hospital, and he replies that he hasn't figured it out yet. He thinks life cannot be lived in a holiday mood all the time, but Tom disagrees and expresses his interest to leave the army and live with Yasi. To his surprise, Yasi agrees and decides to extend their vacation into a honeymoon forever.